Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here,
And BlueDragonFive.
and welcome to the finalist reveal on So You Want to Be an Imagineer Season 13. Get a clue. All right, BlueDragonFive, this is unprecedented because you have been my main co-host, my main confidant, my main man, my right-hand man for almost all of the channel's history. I mean, I started things out with Adventure Blue Dude, but then he had to go to college, and so he's only available on holidays and summers and whatnot. But Dragon, my God, we've stuck through 3 Christmas and Julys with each other. We've done a ton of retrospective with each other, and yet somehow, Dragon, this is the first time that you've been involved with this competition. Do you want to kind of do you have anything to say about just the format of the competition as a whole? Like, because I know you're definitely on the fringes of it.
I really I don't have really a lot to say about the competition. I was like being in the position of kind of having some feedback on the judgment of this one in particular. I mean, that's I like being able to kind of judge how strong and how kind of how viable the pitches were.
Well, Dragon, that's why you're here, because you are a massive Breaking Bad fan. It's one of the things that you and I kind of broke down and talked about a lot when we were first getting to know each other. It's one of the things that we keep bringing up. Of course, we do a Better Call Saul recap show. Check that out when that show comes back on. Dragon, so you're here because you are the biggest Breaking Bad fan I know, and I think that qualifies you to make this decision with me. You're going to pick one person. I'm going to pick another person. Both those people will advance to the final round of the game, to the final round of Season 13. So, Dragon, do you want to say anything kind of just off the top about your ideas about adapting Breaking Bad into a theme park attraction, just big Breaking Bad in general?
Well, let's see. So just, I know Poison Moss definitely has to be in whatever thing of Breaking Bad land you do. So, I mean, again, Breaking Bad does lend itself to kind of like go really exploratory. Albuquerque is a real place. You got to bring a lot of the Albuquerque, fictional locations that are actually practical locations in terms of architecture from Albuquerque into a theme park. Does sound interesting. I mean, people love Breaking Bad. I kept hearing constant recaps. I was really constantly wondering, do we really need to be reminded how great Breaking Bad is? Do we really need to like? I kept hearing people recapping why Breaking Bad is like it's changed the game. It's obvious because I mean, who hasn't watched Breaking Bad? It's such an immersive universe. I mean, I would question its inclusion because of the subject matter of
at least 3 people haven't watched Breaking Bad, and that's the 3 people that we're going to be talking about with these projects. So
I know. I remember asking you so these guys they've never seen Breaking Bad, and it was up to them to get out.
And I'm like, no, the challenge for them was to research it and kind of put it together on their own.
Yeah. And there's varying degrees of who got closest with their just kind of their research and everything. We'll get into that, but let me just say this though. I mean, it'd be a gutsy thing if Universal ever did kind of like a Breaking Bad, land of any kind. Because again, the making meth in a theme park that you want children to go to. For example, that's kind of.
I mean, I think Zootopia kind of crossed some borders with that. I mean, not that we'll see that particular scene in a theme park, but just the fact that it's there in a Disney movie that we literally have characters named Walter and Jesse making a questionable blue substance, a blue mind-altering substance in a Disney movie. It's not like a quick cameo. It's like, no, they are like, they are like quick side characters. It's like, I don't know, Dragon, that for me, it's kind of like, I feel like Breaking Bad has kind of transcended the whole meth thing, and really it's just kind of, I don't want to say it's made meth culturally acceptable, but I think it's made meth more acceptable to kind of like talk about and broach as a subject.
Well, no, the show's never... From the get-go, like any assumption you may have about the show before you actually sit down and watch it, you're going to think, okay, it's a show about drugs or something. But no, it's absolutely not. The drugs are just kind of it's the device of that's what they make their money off. The drugs are inconsequential.
The show's about ambition more than anything.
Exactly. It's about building an empire versus what the empire's what the bricks of the empire are made of. It's about the cement of making the empire. It's really what it's about. It's the making of. Anyway, So I do think, however, I mean, just tailored specifically towards Breaking Bad fans, you definitely could get a whole an immersive landscape out of it. Because again, you have what I heard through various pitches, kind of like a Cars Land going on with the Albuquerque desert.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things a lot of people latched onto, which Dragon, I have been to Cars Land. Cars Land is spectacular. And if you recreated some of that rock work and stuff like that in a not so cartoonish setting, it could be really cool in its own right.
Yep. So I mean, believe me, I'm saying a Breaking Bad park could be very potentially interesting if you market it right. So I don't think in the context you guys are working with, it would necessarily be a reality. But again, we're always talking about the what if on this show, right?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. The whole idea of so being Imagineers, kind of like Blue Sky, just sort of like, concepts that may never get made, but hey, design them anyways, just kind of put your creative skills to the test.
So that said, I mean, there were three very distinct, very different takes on Breaking Bad. Again, just kind of researching on their own, just kind of getting into the world. So we got to commend them for that.
Sure, sure.
But I mean, outside of those three, there was one who was actually familiar with Breaking Bad, and he did a really good job.
Yeah, so Space Mountain Dragon, this was kind of a sad story. He got eliminated mostly because he was a big threat, and everyone knew he was a big threat. And it was kind of a rocky situation. I don't want to kind of recap the whole thing to you. Look it up if you're interested. It's in the same thread, all the details of his elimination. But everyone knew he was a Breaking Bad fan. Everyone knew that he'd just kill it in this project. And Dragon, I'd say it's safe to say, if he was in this project, he would be. Both and I, would probably pick him number one with a bullet.
Yeah, he's undeniable. He had the best one out of anyone here because he had an advantage in that he was familiar with it. They're all working with the handicap of they never saw the show before. That was part of the challenge, right?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so I mean that's why his was by far the most superior and most kind of like what we were looking for being Breaking Bad fans. But also we did go into this one kind of judging it outside of people having exact knowledge of Breaking Bad, mainly an approximation, just like what you would do researching the show.
Sure.
Because again, man, you technically have like kind of technically 6 seasons to go through. I mean, 5's broken into 2, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the semantics of that.
Yeah, there's a lot to there's a lot to kind of there's a lot to watch through if you want to do it. I mean, how much time did tell me, Tiki? How much time did these guys have to research Breaking Bad?
They had about a week and a half.
Wow, so that's a week and a half to get through 5 seasons if they really want to.
I don't think any of them really sat down and watched.
Well, I know that. I'm just saying that if anyone really wanted to do the absolute research, that would have been
right. Okay, so let's kind of break down Spaces really quick. I just wanted to break down Spaces just because he took the time to do it. So
you take the lead on this one. You take the lead on what the attractions were because you got it in front of you right now.
Yeah. Okay, so a really good intro to the project with the Ozymandias poem. Really sets the tone really well. So I think one of the main things Space wanted to do with this project was kind of incorporate some of the artistic filmmaking styles of Breaking Bad.
Yes,
incorporate them into the actual project and into the ride and whatnot.
Yes, I think that's one of the most impressive qualities of his. How it was really a narrative experience.
Sure. Dragon, you absolutely. He did kind of take on the Radiator Springs kind of feel for the attraction, kind of surrounded by the canyons of New Mexico, which is very convenient for the and convenient in a good way for the show. That's kind of one of the reasons I picked the show, because it's from the very beginning of Breaking Bad, even before any of the stuff with Gus or anything like that happened, one of the things that made Breaking Bad stand out from the pilot episode was the landscapes.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I could kind of go on all day. I just really think, first of all, I do love the presentation with the green letters. That's a nice touch.
Yeah, now he's just showing off with the green letters.
Right. But it's just it's a really good kind of. I could go on all day about him kind of breaking this down. Color patterns, music, foreshadowing, wide shots of landscape, time lapses. He uses all those things to kind of.
And most impressive was the how he worked in the time lapses and the foreshadowing. Those two were the most impressive to me.
Totally.
I don't know. I think color patterns were there, but I think just the two elements I mentioned were the most present. I think the way he's given here is the character breakdowns. Again, you and I don't need any of this, but again, for the everyman, I do give him props for having Huel's last name though. That one's definitely a
Huel Babadoo.
Yeah.
I love how this is essentially a Huel-themed attraction, by the way.
Now, let me make this clear, because we're also providing feedback for our 3 contestants, right? For our 3, not contestants. Wait, is contestants?
Yeah, the 3 semi-finalists, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought Contestants was a bad description. My point is, look at this. This layout here is exactly what I would love to have seen from all of them. And all of them, don't get me wrong, they had some of them had visuals for their lands. And this is the best kind of description of kind of the the landscape, like sectioning off your park. Sectioning off.
Sure.
Like, this to me is the most clear and direct. It doesn't get muddy in a lot of details. It just gets kind of shaded, and like half measures mainly the desert terrain. You got kind of the side building over there, and Hank's right on. It kind of all works, and that's really clear, simplistic. I like that.
All right. Okay, so the e-ticket attraction is no half measures. Do you like that as a title?
It's a good title, yes. Just the kind of this one, oddly enough, it's kind of cheating as a ride. It's great, but it's kind of it branches into this really large, long-spanning narrative. And I do think you could trim the fat a little bit in this. I want to make that clear. I think there's tons of great stuff in this ride pitch, but I think you could trim a little bit of it out. Some of it's going to be a little revolutionary if it were done.
Okay. So
yeah.
Q, the Saul Goodman offices. I think that's a really inspired choice.
Yep, right off the bat, there's a good idea here. And let's say I think in one of our pitches,
Q kind of extends into the parking lot, and there's a lot of like seedy stuff going in the parking lot. That's good.
Yeah, and I do love. There's another ride pitch someone has that kind of starts us in Saul's. With Saul Goodman in kind of a territory like this, but again, this is the most kind of referential to like where we started in Breaking Bad. So I think this one goes. It takes what I liked in one of those pitches to a greater, the direction with greater detail.
Sure.
And basically, we go in Saul Goodman's place, and you have it's a really neat thing going over. It is kind of sandwiched in a kind of a believable continuity here, where it's okay. This is when Jesse was kind of screwing things up with the whole thing. Things are getting tense between Gus and Walt. So it's kind of in the season 4 territory, but also the season 3 territory. Jesse's kind of screwing things up in the arrangement. It's kind of it's kind of a neat blend of seasons 3 and 4 because it's kind of in between the two of them. So Walt's definitely in danger.
Yeah, and of course the no half measures thing is like finale of season 3. So you're right, it definitely does fit that timeline.
I think Space wrote Saul Goodman very excellent. I think he had the strongest writing out of all the pitches. I'm going to say
I mean, that's very understandable because
absolutely
he's very familiar with these characters. So
I just want to give him credit where credit's due.
One of my favorite little exchanges is the whole like don't make is Huel happy thing.
Yeah, he had callbacks. He had the whole 9 yards. Space really.
One thing I ask is that you keep Huel happy. Huel, are you happy?
Reasonably. And they even called back the whole chili pig and stuff. However, I will say this: autocorrect, really hurt all of these guys. So make that clear. Autocorrect.
Yeah, that's kind of a common thing with these boards if they're writing on their phone. That's why I always write projects with just a keyboard. But
because I see Trunk every left and right which way in this, because Trunk, it's like, what are they writing in there? They're putting people in the trunk. What's going on? But it's Trunk. So I mean, I don't fault that against them saying autocorrect. Really, just did a number on all of these.
Yo, Chili P is the bomb.
And again, I like Soul. I love.
That's a good callback.
My favorite thing in this one, I think this one had the best cue out of all of them. Again, just because most familiar territories. Again,
Sure.
I'm not holding that against the other guys. I'm just saying this is basically Space is the perfect model of what I was hoping to see from the rest.
Well, I think what Space did, I think one of the big reasons why Space did this is like, here, guys, this is what a project can be, because a lot of people were really discouraged when this was announced as a semifinals project because they were very intimidated by the subject matter. So Space, I think, kind of put this up as kind of like a reference point, okay, this is what you should be aiming for.
Yeah, this is my favorite cue, most definitely, because it has like some great fourth wall breaking. It feels like absolutely I would get a kick out of this when they're talking directly to the audience and Jesse saying, "Wait, why do we have this? Why do we have company?" It's a lot of fun.
The tricky things about a Breaking Bad, right? It's like you are directly involved in like a criminal organization, essentially.
Yeah. So let's see. So let's scroll down. Let's keep going. So before us, you got a really good cue here. Again, Saul kind of being Mr. Exposition in a really entertaining way. You go in the how they work at how Space works in the music and the whole the time lapse works very good. I love that idea of the time lapse getting us from sunset to daylight to sunset.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm sorry. I'm just admiring the sunset. Go ahead.
Well, let's keep going. So again, there's really this meeting in the desert going. I believe, do we have animatronics for this? Is it mentioned?
Yeah. Very, very classic Breaking Bad setup right here.
Yep, and I like just kind of all chaos, how all chaos breaks loose, and Huel's kind of our driver in the midst of this, and
I love putting it from Huel's perspective. That was such a clever thing to do because Huel makes sense as the perfect side character who would be off having his own wacky adventures within the context of the Breaking Bad timeline.
yes. And again, it's working a lot of things from from season 4, like that moment right there. Gus when he started
This is one of my favorite moments in the ride. That would be like, that'd be such a cool moment, Dragon, where you're in the midst of the gunfire. You're worried about the gunfire coming on around you, but then suddenly you look up and there's an even greater threat. There's a Terminator like Gustavo Fring just walking in your direction, unarmed, just walking towards the gunfire. Oh my God, what a reveal that would be.
So it's doing such a great job of kind of weaving in the familiar from Breaking Bad, but also kind of still kind of blending in in a narrative for a ride. So it's kind of doing what you want. Now here, that's the gutsy part of Space.
Oh yeah,
the only part I'm not fully sold on, but I do kind of respect
the dream sequence. I'm just not fully sold on the fact that it's a dream sequence, to tell you the truth.
Well, here's the thing: it's less. Yeah, it's basically the whole. I liked how the pink bears worked in towards the end specifically.
I like the use of the pink bear. I just think the pink bear should have been more of an Easter egg.
Yeah, I'm saying at the end the pink bear works phenomenally. Basically, the pink bear in the sky.
My problem with this being a dream sequence is that throughout the ride so far, they did such a good job of us being basically in Huel's footsteps. So why does it kind of just randomly cut to Walt's POV?
I mean, I love the whole the faint heartbeat and the cough, like being really.
Like I said, it just kind of. I really liked the fact that up until this point we were following Huel pretty directly.
Yeah, and just the whole this and the Skylar scene, the whole the what if with Skylar, and this mainly it's an excuse for foreshadow, which again sounds interesting. You've seen kind of like Walt's kind of take on things, but you're right. We are kind of changing perspectives for a moment there. It just seems a little off, a little different.
Yeah. The confession scene is probably my least favorite scene, just because I mean, not just because Skylar's in it, but I will say though, Dragon, this is the confession scene in the context of the series. I mean, chilling, absolutely chilling. So,
yes, but I do like kind of the idea of in a ride, and I've never really seen this before. Like you're in the middle of a narrative, and then you shift into a dream sequence, and then you come out. But I like that idea, but I think just the perspectives are off, and that's why it doesn't work.
And like I said, I just think the Q did such a good job of building up, like, okay, you're with Huel, follow Huel, make Huel happy, and then suddenly Huel's just not even in the picture.
Well, again, it's less just making Huel. It's more like you're in the car with Huel, so you're the third party on this.
Sure.
Anyway, so continue forward. At first I was really turned off by this, but then in the end it really won me over. How you reach kind of an anti-climax where one, you do get a really great plot reveal of Walter led the cartel there to kind of hopefully kill off Gus Fring.
Yes, that was a cool.
That is
like an unexplored idea within the writers' room of Breaking Bad.
and at first, I was a little bummed out by the anticlimax of now Walter's screwed, and that's where the ride ends. But what I do really love about that, I love the fly thing. Also, is really clever how we hear the fly buzzing around. That's good.
Oh,
but importantly, though, what really kind of initially bummed me is that the ride kind of ends, but I respect the heck out of it. We're kind of getting like a crawl space moment of.
Oh yeah! Oh, absolutely.
That crawl space moment of there's the DEA and the crossover from the Hank ride, and that's a cool idea.
Yeah, I love the crossover. Kind of reminds me of what they were originally going to do with Indiana Jones with the Jeeps and then the mine carts.
Yeah, it's this idea that it's like Tuhajili. Well, we're just kind of we're kind of cornered. Everything is we're dead in the water here. You have no idea what we're gonna do next, and that's kind of where the ride ends. So first I was thinking, well, that's where it ends. But then
it's kind of appropriate with a Breaking Bad story that we get a that's where it ends ending. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the thing. So I mean, upon reflecting on this, it feels accurate to Breaking Bad. But still, if you're going on a ride, you still want kind of a just to the average Joe, you want still kind of a satisfying ending, and we get that after we have something that's very in line of this is where an actual episode of Breaking Bad would end.
Sure.
But then we also get kind of the cherry on top, and it's kind of a thing you can discover of if I'm right here, if I'm reading this rightly from space, you push the you push the bear like on the way out or something, and then basically you trigger like an explosion in the background that kind of takes care of the problem. Walt had like these explosives rigged in these things that signify your death, like you're gonna be buried out in the desert, but no, there are charges in there, and boom, there's your escape.
Yeah.
Overall, it's really well thought out. And again, Hank's side of this also makes a lot of sense, and this is where we started the whole Breaking Bad series. We were on a ride along, and that was just more of like a fun exploratory ride, and it all kind of links up in a wonderful way. So, and we do. I think all rides, all these parks do definitely need a Pollos Hermanos.
Yeah, sorry. No, yeah, Pollos Hermanos definitely pretty obvious pick, but I would say, it almost seems obligatory. It almost seems like I'm almost kind of surprised that this doesn't exist in a Universal Studios park already. Because keep in mind, Universal Studios has, AMC is actually The Walking Dead is becoming one of the flagship Universal things because they're kind of expanding Walking Dead. They're doing it year round now. It's not just in Halloween Horror Nights. So it really wouldn't surprise me. And we'll get into that with DSquared as well. That's one of the things I liked about DSquared's proposal was the AMC side of things. But see, look how happy the customers are. Oh, boy. The funny thing about Pollos Hermanos Dragon is that whenever I saw it in the show, it really didn't look that appetizing to me.
Really?
Maybe that's just because I'm not a chicken guy. In general.
Neither am I, but I appreciate the restaurant setting. I appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate the restaurant setting. I'm just saying the food itself.
I mean, I tell you, the scene where Hank and Walter Jr. like getting their food there. I mean, that looks appetizing. Even though I'm not a chicken eater at all. I like like him asking for the soda and Frank getting it for him. That seemed like that was a really welcoming environment.
Tea shop makes sense.
Yep. Just don't ask for stevia.
Exactly.
The Safe House gift shop was very clever.
Yeah, that's great. Meanwhile, in the safe house.
It'd be great if they had like a prop Huel sitting in a chair somewhere. Like you could take pictures next to it and everything. So
and that's it. Any final thoughts about Space's project?
Thinking Space was absolutely the most impressive and the most kind of narrative-based story that it went again. Just the dream sequence stuff and the change in perspectives. Like the only negative I have the strike against it. I still applaud the effort though of like kind of going in that direction. I just wish it was a little more relevant. But also it's like the biggest long-spanning ride. So aside from that, it feels like it would go on the longest and be kind of you're selling a park on two rides in a way. On two rides, we get a lot of attractions and stuff, so it still feels like within the universe of Albuquerque. You don't need tons and tons of rides, but still it feels like a satiable kind of like, you get on this ride, you do have the whole experience of you're in an episode of Breaking Bad, which is absolutely the feel you want. So even if you're a newcomer to it, you feel like you're going on an experience that's going to make you want to get invested into it, which I think is the challenge, and I think Space absolutely won were he actually in the challenge.
Right. So,
yeah.
So thanks for submitting that, Space. And like I said, I do think Space set a good example of, for the actual semifinalists. So unfortunately, Man-Eating Wreath was a semifinalist as well, but he had to drop out because he had a lot of extenuating circumstances on the side. Glad he got that worked out and everything. Really looking forward to seeing Man-Eating Wreath in December on my Disney trip. Hell yeah. But with that in mind, Dragon, let's break these down, all three of them. We've already made our decisions. I've already posted my decision to the main thread, but let's break them down anyway. So RMichael presents Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yes.
Dragon, you and I very much disagree with this, because I thought this was one of the stronger proposals. You thought it was one of the weaker ones.
Yeah, I thought it was. I have a lot of issues with it.
I mean, I have a lot of positives with it, so this is going to be an interesting conversation.
Let's break it. Let's go, you break it down. You lead us where you want to start.
Okay, well, I mean, let's just start with, just kind of like the location and everything. Let's just kind of break it down there. It's going to be in the expansion plot between Men in Black and Springfield, which makes sense.
Honestly, I tell you, Tiki, just as a newcomer to the competition, I just kind of write out. I didn't really pay attention to that detail because I figure, there's always going to be like issues if you really kind of figure out where they would actually go. So just kind of leave that one up there.
The thing with that, though, is that Disney parks, like every Disney park, has its blank spaces, and they're kind of famous for it. Like, for example, you've been to Epcot, right?
No.
Oh, you haven't been to Epcot.
Well, I mean, I might have. I've been there, but I was like really young.
Okay, well, Epcot has like big, wide, like open fields, like literally just sitting there that can be expanded upon. Disneyland, where they're building Star Wars and Star Wars Land now, was just kind of this empty space that existed forever. So I think with theme parks, it's kind of like there are these spaces that Imagineers kind of tend to go back to, armchair Imagineers at least. And I think the space between the Men in Black and the Simpsons ride and everything like that, it is a space that's very popular to use in these competitions because it's wide open. It's kind of in the middle of the park. So
let me ask you something. Do you take points off if they don't really get specific where the ride's located?
It depends on the prompt. Like some prompts, we just straight up say, "Don't worry about the location. Concentrate more on the actual concept." But generally, if we do want a location and they don't provide us one, then yeah, a couple points will be taken off in the realism department.
Yeah.
Okay, so land theming. I don't know. I like the suburbs and everything. I think it's a nice contrast. Like, I'll tell you what I like about it, Dragon. I like how we have the suburbs, right? We have the suburbs of Albuquerque, the mountains, and then we have the desert in the background. We know the desert's the dangerous place. We know the desert's the place where all the high-stakes shit is going to go down, and that's where the thrill ride's going to be. So I like that right away. RMichael kind of lulls us into this sense of comfort with the suburbs, but also the sense of unease where we know shit will go down in the desert. What do you think of that? That was one of my positives with it.
Well, I mean, yeah, utilizing the desert was a good move. You know, utilizing the desert because again, you're right. Yeah, it's right. It's kind of the no man's land. It's kind of the Badlands. Like you're in the kill box almost. But only bad things happen in the desert.
Right. Which like I said, it's a good contrast because most of the land is made up of the suburbs, and it's like on the outside, kind of like a white picket fence community. But then, of course, we know Breaking Bad. We know that those desert landscapes, nothing but bad things can go down in them.
Yeah. Also, it's not much of a stretch that you could just say, okay, well, if you want to change any geography, it's like, okay, well, there's desert behind the house. Like we've seen in Better Call Saul, like the Kettlemans. The
Kettlemans is the thing that kind of instantly springs to mind for me with that example.
Yeah, the Kettlemans literally had this wide spanning kind of deserty, kind of like forest/desert area. Yeah, they had you had to walk a long ways before you got where the Kettlemans were in Better Call Saul. So there's like a lot of space behind their house. You could kind of like extrapolate, okay, maybe behind whatever house or like close by whatever house you have desert around them.
Okay, so let's get to Breaking Bad, Desert Racer.
Yeah, so
Dragon, I will admit I don't really like that name that much.
Yeah, I'll say this though. RMichael's had terrible names. He did. He had just terrible names.
Just terrible names for all of them?
Both of them. I'm just saying for the two rides, Desert Racer and
Desert Racer. It's like, but I really like what he did with it though. So
well, I'm going to say this. So I think his next one is the worst name though out of anyone. Just again, the investigations inspection. Really, RMichael's. That's the best you'd come up with. Man.
Okay, hold off on that for just a little bit.
Well, okay, well, I don't mean to sound. I gotta treat the guy. I can't treat the guy kid gloves on that one. That was a lazy name.
Okay, I do like the way his queue is broken down, though. How he has the the queue, the pre-show, and everything. That's
let's get. I want to give him points. There is that out of all of these pitches, he had the most script, and I do respect his format was the most kind of exact. I don't think he need to be as exact, but I do like. I love they went to the extra mile with that though.
Yeah, and I really like how we started Walter White's house. How it's almost kind of like, oh, this is like, you could almost kind of it's like, I don't. Like a walk through like Al Capone's house or something like that, like a historic tour, like this is where this is where a lot of crime went down,
Yeah.
Like you kind of have that air to it.
Yes, I will say this though, RMichael's, and I'm gonna be less harsh on this because I'm not gonna I'll rant about him against the names, but I'll be it's really nice. But I will say this: I think out of all of them, he had he could have gone more of an extra mile with the research. I think.
Yeah, I mean, he has had a lot of things going on in school and everything like
True.
that. True.
So. I mean, that's fair. I'm just saying that he's read the most. Like he could have used more research. Like there's a lot of a lot of details. Again, he would have to do research to really kind of get the intricacies. I get that, but still, I think just the rest of them either were vague enough that they kind of captured what we were looking for, or that they were at least in the tonally what we were looking for. I think at least what I was looking for.
Okay, so the elevator is a very kind of classic theme park thing to get you under into the show building. They use it on Haunted Mansion, a lot of other attractions like that. So nice to see it used here. Of course, Escape from Gringotts.
Yeah, I think he had a strong cue, and I could hear Cranston's voice in the beginning of his cue. In the beginning, where I love the idea that you were kind of seeing Walter White, pack away the car through via screen and stuff, kind of like the Harry Potter ride. I like that idea with the cue.
Mm-hmm.
Again, because at the beginning, for a moment before I realized, okay, these guys didn't do research, because I read these before I read kind of the kind of the moment at the end there, and then you confirmed if only these guys, they know the show going into it. Is that first I thought I was doing the moment from Ozymandias, or at least the end of it was it was the end of Ozymandias. Remember, he's going out of town.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was kind of capturing that moment at first, but then you turned out not to be so. But still, it kind of has a little bit of a panic tone like that. I kind of like meeting up with Walter White like that, and then he's kind of talking to us, saying, he was saying it's kind of trying to sell us on helping him. So that idea I do like. I like that idea of like Walter White kind of telling you, and I could hear Cranston in the beginning paragraph. He's got here like, I wasn't expecting you until later.
Right.
And basically, he says it's not. Let's just say they're not legal. Okay. So up to that point, I was on board with what he was spinning here for this ride. I could still hear the character before I then realized, okay, we're definitely going off the reservation of what would necessarily work.
Okay, so I love this cue though. This was a really cool thing. This is kind of where we get into the whole desert being a dangerous. Where we have a set of switchbacks in the queue in the driveway. I like how we're directly on the driveway, but it's not part of the main land. It's just kind of a faux driveway. That was really clever, I thought. And then the queue moves into the road, and like I said, it's a like they said, you want to create a panicked feel, a contained feel for the queue. So that was really well done, I thought.
Yeah, I still kind of question how some of the ride mechanics would work. Using kind of the Harry Potter style, but only making the orb things cars, making the not the orb things, making the little rail things cars.
Well, I mean, I think these cars are generic enough that you can just reskin them, and I think they work pretty well. They're pretty efficient.
I suppose that was just
saying. Just give them a reskin. Just give them a reskin, and I think it'd work fine.
Well, yeah, I'm not holding that one against. I'm just saying that's just me personally. I'm just trying to wrap my mind around that one. But the point is, like when going out to the desert, it's a good setting for the ride, making into a chase. Everyone used kind of a Jeep kind of truck chase in the desert. I want to make that clear. Everyone kind of used that one.
I was surprised no one went with an RV. An RV as a vehicle.
Yep. DSquared, I believe it was DSquared, kept referring to it as a trailer. Kept referring instead of an RV.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
Winnebago. I'm just saying, trailers, they have to be driven by a car in the front. It's a difference. Oh my god. It's very minor, though. I'm just saying, though, it's kind of like an RV or a Winnebago. And where do you get trailer from, anyways?
So, Dragon, this was probably the single best thing I had about RMichael's project overall was laying out the seconds and the transitions and everything. That made it feel really realistic, like I was actually reading a proposal. That Universal would propose.
Yeah, it definitely reads like a proposal. I'll give you that. Let's see. One, I really wasn't crazy about the nighttime setting. Honestly, it wasn't. I don't know why. That one didn't really. Because it sounds like a lot of what he's describing here is you kind of go into black here. It just seems kind of like an easy out for instead of just being the hot sun of familiarity. Of even if you never watch the show, just looking at any image, it's always daylight. You're never at nighttime in Breaking Bad. Almost never. You're almost never in nighttime. You kind of get rid of kind of that great kind of visual image of like the blue sky and the sun-baked land. Because a lot of it sounds like you turn into darkness here and there, and that's kind of where the ride ends. You turn into darkness, somehow evading the cops. And I have issues with the story for his ride greatly. Even, again, taking out that everyone has the handicap of not being uber familiar with it. I'm sorry I keep bringing that. I have to keep reminding myself that. But my big story problem is just kind of the chase kind of starts really randomly. It's like someone spots Walter White and his convoy is like, okay, suspicious character. Even if there's not, I don't know if I forget if it rationalize the if it said like all the cars are following Walter White, or it's just the one car like per rider, it's like you're in one car, and that's like the context of the whole thing. Whichever, I can't quite recall. The point is like you're just randomly kind of spot like, okay, suspicious character. You see someone on their phone walking across the street. Oh my god, hey, so you hear like the 911 call, and then it evolves into this random chase that our guys somehow they evade in the desert. Which chases in the desert, especially at nighttime, you'd have the the red lights going and everything, and it still reads as a little out of left field. And I have a hard time just buying that one that we get into this chase and then we'd be able to evade them, and it's I don't know, it's kind of it still isn't quite grab me. And the other thing is the biggest problem I have with this pitch, but for this ride particularly, is the ending. Aside from just not reading it all like Walter White, which again I'm going to give that one a pass, the biggest problem I have with that ending to the ride is that it's Tiki, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Good.
Dragon, I don't have as much of a problem as you do with the whole reporting the suspicious activity thing, because I feel like that's just kind of not necessarily the reporting the suspicious activity thing, but just a quick inciting incident to get things moving in the action. I feel like that's pretty typical with a theme park attraction. And I don't really have a problem with it personally.
It reads like it reads like a big contrivance. I don't buy that our guys will be able to get away. And at the end of it, it's really weird whether it's Walter White or not that you hear just him saying, well, you know what, I've reconsidered having you guys along because I'm reconsidering the danger it puts you in.
Yeah.
Reads really strange.
I do like the image of the blue smoke coming out of the RV though.
Well, yeah, it's it's usually yellow, but it's.
But I like the blue.
Oh, yeah, sure. I'm just say again, that'd be at nighttime though. Let's bear that in mind. You wouldn't really hardly be able to make out the blue.
Yeah, well, you're killing me, Dragon. Okay, this is what I thought was the strongest scene in the ride. Right here was the police chase scene where the RV pulls out. The RV slightly ahead of us, and the DEA is on our tail. There's a lot of action. Walt's yelling like, "Make a diversion! Make a diversion!" Dragon, that I want to say is probably that got it the closest to what I personally imagined a Breaking Bad themed ride to be like.
I just don't buy they'd be able to get away though, especially at nighttime. I don't think they'd be able to get away.
Okay, well, first of all, I think you're putting too much stock in this nighttime thing because the show being set in the day, I think that's. I think I can kind of just give a benefit of the doubt that RMichael doesn't really know the benefit of the show being set in the day. I just saying, I think you're too hung up on that, though. I think that.
I'm saying that's kind of a big flaw with the ride, though. Like how feasibly, like the brake lights, the headlights are going to get on. Like how do you get away? Even if you turn them off, they're going to be crashing into like ditches and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you're not really giving this one a chance, though.
But I mean, I like a chase through the desert, though. But I just think the ending is. The ending's my look. I'll give the nighttime thing a pass at the end. Just to be fair, I'll give the nighttime thing a pass. But I still just cannot get past the ending of like I've rethought
theme
this.
Park attractions are set at night. That's one thing I want to point out. Just because of the dark lighting. Dark lighting is just easier to accomplish in a theme park environment.
Yeah, but see, fine. Even just ignoring the nighttime thing, I'm just saying that ending though really just rubs me the wrong way. Whether you know the show or not, it seems like okay. So like I'm now rethinking my life decisions, which kind of like okay, it kind of kills the character and kind of kills the decision making of the show. Like, oh, we don't need any. No, we don't need. I don't want to put you in danger. I know that's what it reads like to me. I don't want to get you mixed up in this. Like I appreciate what you did for me tonight, but until the day that's a really cheesy line. I didn't. The writing really rubs me the wrong way with Walter White in this one. It's like I appreciate what you did tonight. Until the day I die, really on the nose.
Yeah, that was I don't know, Dragon. You're being too harsh on this, man. I think there's a lot of variety in the show scenes here. I like the backward stuff. Like I said, I really like that RMichael took so much time to do the transitions. I really love the 360 room. To me, there's a lot of good stuff to like about this project.
Look, I think some of this effort would have been better served in kind of getting kind of a better feel for plot and getting for the reasoning of all of this.
All
So it's
right.
got me, because again, I think there's real potential in the beginning there of, okay, so we get to see kind of Walter White getting ready to embark on this journey, but the journey's just kind of like, okay, random police chase. We're gonna have really awesome effects of like you going through the desert and stuff. Which I'm sure it would be a blast, and he describes it very well, like the twist turns of 360 stuff. But that's all it is, though, and you just kind of you end up getting away. It's just like saying, oh yeah, and don't forget it's Breaking Bad, which is a problem.
It's essentially recapturing like an intense Breaking Bad action scene, and I don't have a problem with that.
It just feels very generic to me. That's the biggest problem I got with it. That's all. It feels like it could be any ride and it's barely Breaking Bad. Just hey, there's an RV in the distance.
Barely Breaking Bad.
This feels near. Tell me if there's anything that distinctly it's not.
The RV in itself, with the smoke coming out of it and everything, that is distinctly very Breaking Bad to me. The RV, the desert environment, Walter White is a character.
Walter White isn't a character in this. He's just a random criminal guy telling you, okay, let's go here. You don't invest in this guy. You don't remember the charm of the guy, anything.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm just telling you my perspective on it because, so.
That guy was holding it to a little bit of a...
So the gift shop is definitely kind of, very rushed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A little bit of a, generic at the gift shop, too.
Full of both New Mexico and Breaking Bad merchandise. Ooh.
Here's the worst title there, Investigations Inspection.
Yeah, I can't really defend that one.
Yes. And again, pretty much the way I'm reading this thing, tell me if I'm wrong, you just take a walkthrough of the Albuquerque Police Department where you probably see like them, like like Hank Schrader's like boards and stuff looking for Heisenberg, that sort of thing.
Right. What I like about this is what RMichael mentions. It's kind of like this is the police side of things, whereas the e-ticket is the Walter White side of things.
Yeah.
I think there's some good ideas here. I honestly think it's creative to do a walkthrough. A walkthrough is not something we see a lot, and it's something that I wish more parks would do.
I mean, it's cool. I would have added maybe a few floors, like maybe have like a test firing center or something. I don't know, like make a little.
Or maybe like a photo op with Gus Fring or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It needs something, But I mean, it's like I'm not holding that against. I'm just saying, aside from the bad title, like we don't really get like a little orientation by Hank Schrader or anything. Like again, it just feels kind of like. I mean, we're just kind of walking through a police station, but we have like good photo opportunities, like taking pictures of the like the whole the bulletin board with. Like okay, we're looking for Heisenberg. Here are the clues we got. Maybe an evidence locker. I don't know. Like an orientation or something would have helped.
Sure.
It's minor though. But the point is, like we're all kind of hinging on this ride that really, for me personally, it doesn't really grab me. I guess so. That's why I'm a little more down on this pitch than the rest of them.
Missed opportunity with Polos Hermanos. I would say maybe the reason why RMichael didn't want to do Polos Hermanos is just it was maybe too obvious. That's the benefit of the doubt I'll give him with that.
Yeah, I do love the inclusion of the doghouse.
Oh yeah, certainly.
That's
like I said, I feel like that's almost more original than Polos Hermanos, just because Polos Hermanos is just like it takes basically zero actual like creative energy to come up with. Oh yeah, Polos Hermanos in a Universal Land, Like this is actually more of a deep cut, which impressed me.
It'd be hilarious if waitresses brought the food after you dressed like Wendy.
Oh my god! Yes.
And everyone knows.
And there's a soda machine in the back corner, and she always gets an A&W root beer. Like every half hour, you just see her drinking an A&W root beer.
Yep, and maybe have like kids on a bike on the corner going around there, and see like every like on the hours like kind of little performance that goes on where you see a guy get shot.
Oh no! Okay. So that's it for RMichael. Let's get to DSquared with just Breaking Bad Land. Yeah.
So I think DSquared out of the three had the strongest pitch for
Okay.
I think he had the. I really liked his. So we go down here. Trying to think where we're going to start here. I mean, that's also clear. I didn't really give him credit on like the whole little layout he's got here, because you got to remember, folks, if you don't have the way I view this, I didn't have access to the big layout visuals the way I was getting the information, so I couldn't really see like kind of the huge like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not holding that against anyone. I'm just saying it's I think Space, which is the one I definitely could see because it was huge the way it was put up there.
Sure. And Space made it more clear. He kind of colored over existing areas and stuff. But
I mean, still, this is a little vague, like which is going where. Because I don't think there's like a chart telling you which is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Dragon, let me lay out one of the things I like about this project right off the bat was the decision to have Universal Studios Hollywood be the premier park for TV-based rides. I thought that was a really good idea because they already have The Walking Dead there year-round. I think they can do other things with The Walking Dead because The Walking Dead right now is just a walkthrough. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a full-blown like ride-through Walking Dead ride at some point.
Well, you kind of need to
just have Breaking Bad. You could have other things in there as well. So I really did like that element of it to separate it out. Like you said, it's like Orlando would get the movie stuff first, Hollywood would get the TV stuff first. So
let's see. Again, we got Pollos Hermanos.
Not surprising.
I think let me say this: DSquared are the best shopping and the kind of the consumer side of things.
To be honest with you, I think he was probably one of the only ones that really tried with the shopping. But
yeah, he was really creative with this because we got Gilligan's, which
love Gilligan's. I really love Gilligan's.
And it would actually sell the pork pie hat. I have a lot of really cool merchandise.
Dude, if they made a Breaking Bad land, I think the hat would be like one of the big.
It'd be the Mickey Mouse ears.
Breaking Bad land would essentially be like what the wand is for the Harry Potter land. It'd be like the thing that everyone would buy when they're there.
And it'd be the Mickey Mouse hat.
Exactly. It'd be like Universal's Mickey Mouse ears.
Yeah, which would be cool. Also, I love to think they would sell in that store. I'd love to think they'd sell like kind of the chi machine that Saul uses.
Also, of course, you've got to have that the rock candy, the blue rock candy that's crystallized.
Remember, we have that down there in the Blue Sky Cafe.
Of course, right.
Which again, the Blue Sky Cafe sound really good too, because again, a lot of you get the coffee pastries. It's kind of the generic diner we've been in here and there. So it's got some good stuff going on there. Let's see, we got. By the way, am I to assume the 50 million, like all the millions that are listed there, like kind of investments in the ride, like how much?
Yeah, that's the budget for the ride. Yeah.
Wait, you give them a budget?
No, I didn't give them a budget myself, but they're just kind of coming up with that, like they're just kind of laying that out, like in terms of realism and whatnot.
All right, okay, well, anyway, so
ballpark figures.
James McGill, the lawyer you can trust.
I just love that image.
Okay, so let's see, it's going down a little bit. So again, yeah, I really did like the Saul ride was really good. It was basically No, it's different. He did address this. Said wouldn't link up directly with like Better Call Saul or anything.
But keep in mind, Better Call Saul. That whole title was first a Breaking Bad episode, and Better Call Saul is his slogan. So I don't necessarily think Better Call Saul. It's more of a Breaking Bad ride for sure.
Well, I mean, it doesn't go in the Gene direction, is what I'm saying.
Of course,
it's kind of playing again. Basically, let me say this with DSquared as a blanket statement for all of his stuff is that. His stuff, again, I think his was the closest to what I was looking for in that it wasn't, the show per se, but I think it was close at the very least if things were off, which again, you have to expect all three. If things were off, at least this kind of got close to what the crux of the series is and kind of went in new directions with stuff that, went new directions with things that still kind of make sense. Like, well, if Breaking Bad went in a different direction, this would still be pretty fun. At the very least for a ride perspective, like I would still get a lot of fun on this ride and simply remind why I like these characters. For example, like, so again, the Better Call Saul ride in particular, it's like a great idea of, it's Saul on the lam post Breaking Bad. Has a little vigil with Walter White, which I think is great. Which is great. It's a very simple premise, and you have like a lot of good kind of Saul kind of talking to the audience sort of thing. It's the idea of like, what if Saul has like a second, more rundown office because he's hiding from the law, he's not in the shopping mall place. So again, I think the fundamentals of Breaking Bad are there, and it's kind of taking it in a new direction. It's kind of fun going in the unfamiliar in that context. Again, it's still playing with a familiar universe you don't know all the little intricacies of, which kind of puts you in a direction of like kind of creating a new mythology based on kind of the bare bones of the other one, which is providing for some interesting story opportunities. Like, what if Saul, he's somehow, he's back in the business, but he's on the lam and he's still dealing with clients and the most dangerous clients, and now he's escaping the cartel, which puts you in kind of like it's putting Saul into kind of a Walter White kind of situation where he's fleeing for his life, and you Saul Goodman being the cowardly schmo that we love and adore works very well for him.
Yeah, I very much love the idea of kind of like this Mr. Toad's Wild Ride type scenario, like going through Saul's office. And of course, Saul's office is always something that's populated by crazy characters and whatnot, so it fits very well.
Yeah, so I mean, Saul was my favorite out of all of DSquared's stuff. I'll say that much because that one just seemed like the most natural. Like, okay, well, this is probably what Saul would do if he were if we're still in it. You know, if we didn't go the Gene direction, went an alternative direction, I could buy this.
All right, so Breaking Bad, the Juarez
Juarez.
Cartel.
Anyway, so yeah, so the cartel, which just generally, folks, just to the contestants, let me just tell you, you can just call it the cartel, guys. It's fine. That's the terminology. You don't have to call it the Juarez cartel, but points for looking into it. Points for looking into it. So basically, I love. It's always, I think it's a wise move when they kind of compare it to existing rides, like, you know, the Twister, kind of a Twister-esque ride where we're kind of
Sure.
in the wings, kind of observing kind of this proscenium theater almost, kind of observing what's going on.
Yeah, and I think it adds a lot of variety, and we didn't ask for 2 C tickets, we only asked for 1, so it kind of showed that DSquared definitely went above and beyond in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. This to me felt, it felt very much. It felt kind of like a bottle episode of Breaking Bad, almost. Where kind of, it felt very much. I mentioned like the comparison of it's very much like Grill, one of my favorites from Breaking Bad. Is that, you know, we're with Walt and Jesse, kind of planning out what they're going to do in a really dire situation. We have the cartel comes, we got a bit of kind of stunts and kind of like effects going on the outside, you know, the bullets flying and everything. And, well, you know, like we kind of see it from a distance. We see kind of Jesse kind of acting on like. Well, I mean, we get the perspective like Walt and Jesse. We don't quite see him, but, you know, we got stuff going on in front of us. I mean, I like how we're kind of in a good narrative perspective. We see kind of the you know, the cue and then kind of how it all plays out there.
Sure.
I mean, that one.
Well done. I like the idea of doing a show. I like and the violence is very much kind of it's very appropriate for a theme park attraction. The only thing I will say, Dragon, is that I really think and it's kind of a touchy territory with the language in theme parks. I'm not really sure. Like, I mean, bitch, I think you can get away with. I'm not sure if you can get away with fuck.
Well, I know that, T. I'm gonna assume that's. I'll say this though, that T also might want to.
And also, I'm slightly uncomfortable that this is on a Disney message board. I mean, that has nothing to do with the actual merit of the project itself. Just something I'm pointing out.
You know, Tiki, turn up your mic or something because you're talking to the mic or something because you're a little low.
I'm sorry, man. I'm having a lot of mic problems tonight for some reason.
I know you're having a lot of problems per jump because you cut out 2 times now. It's killing me.
Most times I cut out were because of the mic.
All right. But I will say, at least it's censored, though. I'm going to write that off. I'm going to give DSquared some points there in that. You know,
It's censored, but I think the forums just self-censored it, though. That's the thing.
Well, no, my point is it's... I think the dialogue still could be altered, and I appreciate the concept of the ride on, you know, the concept of the C ticket thing on this one. In that, again, I love the situation, I love the premise. I do think the dialogue's off on this one compared to the other 2.
I mean, I will say, like, I actually think RMichael's dialogue, it was limited, but I think it was more natural than this. I mean, with Jesse, I almost feel like this is kind of like a parody of Jesse, where all Jesse says is, well, fuck, bitch, damn it, bitch, yo, bitch. You know, and it's like, sure, Jesse does have the bitch catchphrase, but it's not all there is to his character, so... That bugged me a little bit. I will say that.
I'm saying the yes science is just a little generic of like he says yes. It's just like,
right.
No, it's. I mean, I think the spirit of this one was great. Importantly, what I like most about it is it gave us some good variety for stuff because it wasn't just like another kind of chase through the desert, which we had with Saul. But again, Saul had more personality with it, which is what I was really lacking from RMichael. So
sure.
But again, it's some variety. Again, it's playing with perspective. I mean, look at that shot up there. Scroll up a little bit. There you go. That image right there. I mean, it very much looks like kind of the click from Better Call Saul season 2.
Mm-hmm.
You know, from a distance, I like that kind of idea. Is kind of looking upon what's going on. So we're kind of like we hear like Walter and Jesse on the sides. You know, kind of having a dialogue between each other, or at least Walter and Jesse from a distance, however that turned out. So again, it's giving us some. It's given more variety of situations and kind of experience with the ride. So I think it's really all I got to say with the cartel.
Okay.
Let's move on to the hunt for Walter White.
What do you think of this one? Another Jeep ride.
So this one, though, I will say one. I think the queue is really interesting in that this one does it gets closer to what Space was doing, in that it gives us a little bit of a narrative going on here. Again, I think the dialogue is off, but that's something to expect with the 3D pitches. They're not going to be like the dynamic between Walt and Mike. It's that
douchebag Mike.
Yeah, so we're not going to hold that against.
What a douchebag in the show.
Yeah, so let's not hold. Let's not hold that against them for
Sure.
Because again, he thinks Mike, and it really should be Gus and Mike is what Walt should be talking about. But at this point, I could buy that. I'm sure that DSquared's not thinking about this, but it could be like the season 4 thing where Jesse and Mike were kind of they're really palling out, and that's causing
that's kind of what I read it as, actually.
Yeah, but I still figure I think he's just getting the characters a little wrong in that, because we have like a tour guy that sounds a lot like Saul Goodman, but would probably be like Huel or someone.
I like the RV being used as kind of like the big set piece of the queue. I think that's a clever idea.
Yeah, so that was a very smart move in that. Importantly, what I'm saying is like Space kind of laid a really good narrative, and I think when Space got into Walter Whiteside, I think this one did that in by debatably superior ways. The queue gives us a really great idea where we're seeing kind of a grumpy Walter White, like an animatronic Walter White working in the RV, and we're kind of walking behind him. And I love that we're in the headspace of Walter White in this ride. And we really get kind of the we're in Walter White's kind of distrustful headspace that we definitely got in season 4. We're in kind of this distrustful headspace with a lot of references here. And I love the ending of the ride, how it kind of works in kind of the famous phrase,
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, it's like the distrust between Walt and Mike, which we know that goes on. I think it's still borrowing from a few things. I think the dialogue needs to be tweaked, but to be fair, it needs to be tweaked in all 3 pitches. So I'm not going to hold that against them too much.
Exactly. I also kind of had something didn't quite sit with me with the idea of having like a physical driver on the ride, like a physical like Jungle Cruise, great movie ride style driver.
And again, to me, it sounds like I think he's writing like Saul Goodman. He said like could be anyone though.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, just logistically, I just don't think that's a great idea, because it would mean like you'd have to have each ride vehicle staffed by a different cast member.
Oh wait, are you sure that was like? I couldn't quite recall. I mean, are you sure that was like?
It's a live person. DSquared can correct me if he wants to, but.
So I could have sworn it was. I interpreted it as like just like he doesn't know what character it would be, but a character would be.
I think the reason why he doesn't know what character it would be is just because it's a cast member, and you can't just have like, you can't just have like 8 Saul Goodmans running around in the different rides. As awesome as that would be, don't get me wrong.
Well, no, still, it just reads to me like it's going to be a character, just he doesn't know what. But I don't think it's going to be like an actual.
I think the point of it is supposed to be kind of like just a generic character that any person could play. Just so they don't get too typecast with it.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean cast member, though. I didn't really read it as cast member. I could be wrong, though.
I read it as cast member, but like I said, maybe DSquared can kind of confirm that one way or another.
Let's see anything in particular. So again, just Walt and Mike's dynamics, like Mike's a little out of character, but again, that's
Walt and Mike's dynamic. Yeah, it's more kind of like the end of Walt and Mike's dynamic, the ending of Walt and Mike's dynamic, or the beginning of Walt and Mike's dynamic.
Tiki, is there anything you can do with the mic, like turn it up or something? I know I asked you before. Let's see, working on something here, folks. Let's see if he's. Anyway, so and overall, I think this ride was again, it's a good kind of little character arc for Walter White. I wish the writing was a little tweak to kind of strengthen that, but again, I think tonally it's really getting to like we're in his headspace, and we're kind of like just it's kind of a Walton kind of a dire straits right now. We have like the whole little gun confrontation between Walt and Mike. It's basically, what if things really spiraled out of control between the two of them? Like, what if something really, they're really getting tense, like saying, "I'll blow you away, I'll blow you away." Which again, I think that dialogue could be strengthened in all pitch. I know I don't mean to repeat myself, folks. I'm just saying, it's But again, I think just it complements the other rides in that. Okay, so let's. So Better Call Saul is kind of a comedy version of kind of the Jeep ride through the desert. The cartel thing, it's really kind of more of a show than a ride, but it's to show that, to show that it entertains and also get you in the headspace of the character. So I just think, all three actually, when I think about it now, they all kind of have a good kind of approximation of character. Good, like you kind of care about the character, you kind of get it. You get, okay, Walter he's bugged out of his mind for the hunt for Walter White. I'll admit that title still feels a little off, Hunt for Walter White, until I guess it gets to the point where, Walt's kind of put in jeopardy, but it doesn't feel like you're going to call it Hunt for Walter White. It's more like kind of like the Paranoia Walter White sign. Not that it's an actual good title, but, like something that, more like Walt's kind of, maybe the menace, like Walt's about to be usurped, something like that. Anyway, so the point is these three rides kind of give us a good variety, good approximation of character, as I said already. So, also the shopping's the most creative. So, I mean, for my money, I think DSquared have the strongest, most diverse of the pitches. And even last thing before we get into the third, I suppose, is that I really don't want to sound like I'm just showing it favoritism because it's closer to Breaking Bad, but I do think it gives just anyone who's unfamiliar with Breaking Bad, like kind of our contestants here, just kind of no familiar whatsoever with it before doing research, just kind of, again, getting kind of the cliff notes. I assume the cliff notes of Breaking Bad. That's kind of what any kind of average show who's not seen the show would be walking in with, that mentality. And I think this would still put people in good enough shape of, okay, this is generally the show. You have to make some caveats, just kind of get some good ride stuff going on. And RMichael's felt the most unfamiliar, the most like, well, it's kind of interchangeable. It's just like, okay, there's a criminal that just happens to be Walter White in both rides. Like, you're tracking a criminal. That's really all it's sold on. This one felt like actually Breaking Bad characters, just Breaking Bad characters in kind of theme park, with rides versus characters with just.
I don't know what's going on with my microphone.
Now you sound better.
I'm the most goddamn fucking professional fucking host in the world.
Okay, let's. Right, so I guess moving on to Mickey Fan then. Let's move on to Mickey Fan. Mickey Fan is the most bare bones pitch. We can say that much about him.
My mic is. Can you even hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You're fine. I muted you for.
I'm sorry, man. Fuck, I invite you on and I fucking cut out like 3 times.
Anyway, let's quickly go through Mickey Fan. Then we'll wrap up.
I don't even have it pulled up, man. Can you just?
I remember Mickey Fan. We'll go through it. So let's say Mickey Fan. He had a Poyos Hermanos like DSquared did. We had Jesse Pinkman kind of randomly running a store, which is kind of an amusing concept. I'll give them that much. We had a Better Call Saul ride too, and Better Call Saul's ride was we had a dark ride about making a commercial, which sounded really entertaining and sounded. I guess I gotta take a break there because I want to say that with Mickey Fan's pitches and all of it, it was the most bare bones and most kind of like he mentioned this too. Let's give him credit. He mentioned this is the most kind of like more of a last minute pitch, so we do have to factor in with the decision making, which is why Mickey might not be making it to the last round. Again, this is old news to the contestants involved, but Mickey Fan did kind of take an interesting approach where he, even with the most bare bones thing, again, it's still open to interpretation if that is true enough to kind of a passerby's knowledge of Breaking Bad, which I do think is still. All of it's just on the surface. It's a very surface level description, but this is most, to me, practically what we would get with Universal making a Breaking Bad stuff. We would get kind of this Better Call Saul thing, which Better Call Saul's a fun show right now. It's going to be kind of fun. Well, we know about Better Call Saul, it's like instant kind of thing. He has like a lot of funny commercials going to Saul making the commercials. Probably walk through the office and getting there. Which, I mean, it's pretty much is a very true statement on who Saul Goodman is, especially looking at him through Breaking Bad, which is fun. Then
I mean, I will give Mickey Fan credit for just completing the project in the first place. God.
Yeah, and then we have. I suppose we should get to the story of Walter White then.
Dragon, I mean, like you said, I appreciate that he did something. I appreciate that it made it at least not like a default thing, but to me, there's just not anything here. To me, it's like, with Polos Hermanos, it's like, yeah, obviously Polos Hermanos. I think Space did a better job of illustrating why Polo should be there. Like you said, the Jesse Pinkman store, I will give that some credit. That is pretty funny that Jesse would start his own store.
Yep. I'm just saying that even though it was bare bones, it did sound. Again, it sounds as very true to what. I know it's kind of an out. That's why I guess we can't really.
Yeah, but how can you tell the whole story of Breaking Bad within a 5-minute ride?
Well, pretty much like a Peter Pan ride, just with effects for the gunshots and stuff.
But the Peter Pan ride sucks at telling the whole story.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying
Think about it, though. The Peter Pan ride is just like you fly over London, you fly over the volcano, the kids are captured by pirates, you go past the Indians, suddenly you're in Skull Rock, and then you fly by some mermaids, and then you're done.
Well, I'm using the Peter Pan ride as an example of like just an approximation of what I think he's going for with that. He just says like we're going through the whole the whole series in a ride, which that's the way it's going through the whole movie in a ride. That's my example. Just you're going through a whole. And be like from a perspective, like you see it from a distance, says you animatronics and stuff, and I fear that's the way you do that sort of thing. Or make the moment stand out a little more, kind of like a little test, like a little tribute to the series of Breaking Bad through a little dark ride.
Yeah, but to me, it's just kind of a cop out. Like I'm not actually like. I mean, I guess I'll give him credit for looking up that Jack Welker was the final villain and that there was a shootout. I guess, but it just seems very bare bones of like just. Let's just throw in everything. To me, there's just no thought put into it at all. It's barely even a pitch. It's not a pitch.
Well, I don't know, team. Just in this place, right? It is. Again, he didn't put a lot of work into it though, but it still sounds the most like practical. And this is what a bare bones. People like executives, not really. I don't mean executives. Sorry, I mean. If they were just going to quickly say, okay, let's just do a Breaking Bad thing to cash in on the clout of Breaking Bad. So let's do the basics. Well, yeah, Portos Hermanos, of course, that's the gimme. That's the obvious thing to do for your eatery. Portos Hermanos, big thing to show. Better Call Saul popular. Let's just somehow do a little tribute to the whole show. So basically get everything in there. Those are the three basics you would have, right? And we have to have a store. So this is the bare bones what you would get, and I do think it's not inaccurate to the show at all out of all of these. So. I'm not saying it's where we're factoring decision making, which is why we know who the finalists are in this. I still want to give credit where credit's due. That's all.
Okay, so with that in mind, let's make our official selections. So, BlueDragonFive, I assume you're selecting DSquared.
Yes, I am. DSquared is my guy on this one.
Which is, I think that's appropriate because DSquared put a lot of effort into this. He went above and beyond with the extra C ticket. So I very much applaud DSquared. He's made it all the way to the end of the game now. Dragon, in case you don't know, DSquared is kind of like an infamous personality within these boards. Not so polarizing as that he's mean to anyone or anything like that. More so that he plays these strategy-based games very, very aggressively. And so he's really into the strategy side of these competitions, especially in our Survivor-themed Soul Imagineer game we did. So it's really fun to see DSquared make it to the end of the game after what he pulled in the Soul Imagineer. So again, I know you don't know anything about that. Just kind of want to point that out in general for the.
I mean, if he does the rest of his Imagineering like this one, I think he's going to win.
We'll see. We'll see. My pick, folks, is RMichael. Dragon. I mean, I just can't go along with your bare. To me, Mickey Van was just very bare bones. The only plus I can give him is the fact that he even submitted anything. Really, because I mean, there's a couple like slivers of good ideas here and there, but. I don't know, man. Just the idea of just like, okay, let's just tell all of Breaking Bad in a 5-minute dark ride. That's just not sitting with me the same way it's sitting with you.
I feel if he just could have been a little more descriptive or like a little more of a defense for his stuff, I think he would have more clear cutly kind of been the other contender. I think. Again, I guess so. Didn't have that because it was a little last minute. I feel can't help but feel I still think he could have pulled something off though.
But for me with RMichael, I think it's pretty clear why I'm picking RMichael. He definitely had the most detail certainly out of the three besides Space. And I would even say his detail is pretty close to the level of detail that Space gave. Of course, Space having the extra advantage of knowing Breaking Bad and everything, of course. And just, I love the way he sectioned everything off. I really love the descriptions, the different parts of the queue, the transitioning areas. It's not the strongest ride in the world, but like I said, I think especially the speed tunnel with the cop chase and the RV and everything is very much in the style of what I want to see from Breaking Bad attraction. And overall, I think RMichael did a really good job. And it's just like I just can't in all good consciousness give it to Mickey Fan because, like I said, I appreciate that Mickey Fan turned in a concept to begin with under extraordinary circumstances, but it's so bare bones to me. I can't make that decision. I can't in all, with how much RMichael's been working on this all week. And I know RMichael's been working on this all week, and this is something Mickey Fan just kind of typed together in the last 2 hours. And like I said, I appreciate Mickey Fan doing that, but in the end, I am going to have to make my selection and give it to RMichael, which means our final two is RMichael and DSquared. So congratulations to the two of you. Dragon, I don't know if you'll even care about it or not, but our final project of the season, our final prompt is a dimension of mind. You have just crossed into the Twilight Zone. So, Dragon, what these guys have to do now, because there was a big backlash about Guardians of the Galaxy taking over Twilight Zone California Adventure. Let's say hypothetically Disney has taken over. They've been really aggressive. Like, okay, people obviously love the Twilight Zone. We can't give the Twilight Zone up. We need to buy the Twilight Zone outright from Paramount, so we own the IP. So let's say that hypothetically has happened. Disney now owns the Twilight Zone outright. What I want to see from this project is I want to see a complete overhaul of Sunset Boulevard, where Twilight Zone Tower of Terror is on it, in Disney Hollywood Studios. I want to see basically have four main things, Dragon. Four main things. I want to see a large-scale overlay of the Tower of Terror that'll add new life into the attraction and some additional theme that comes from the Twilight Zone. Let's just hypothetically say Aerosmith has decided not to renew their contract for Rock and Roller Coaster, so with that in mind, keep the roller coaster track, keep the roller coaster layout, the fact that it launches and all that, but re-theme it to the Twilight Zone in some way. Number 3, design a C-ticket ride designed to the Twilight Zone to kind of tie everything together. And finally, number 4, create a large-scale dining experience themed to the Twilight Zone. Dragon, what do you think of this as a prompt? Are you a Twilight Zone guy at all?
I mean, I appreciate the Twilight Zone. I mean, I wouldn't really have any ideas to contribute towards the Twilight Zone. Just kind of, it's kind of a window for really kind of kind of fun, kind of bizarre storytelling, really.
Oh, okay, folks. Thanks for joining us, and I very much apologize for my freak out and my technical delays and everything like that. I kind of went a little bit psycho on my third dropout, which I apologize for. It's just my anxiety getting to me. It's been a long weekend since I've been so sick. But Dragon, thanks for joining me. This has been kind of an unprecedented you judging us so you want to be an Imagineer project. So thanks for doing it for me. Really appreciate it. And I apologize that it was so last minute on your end as well. I totally forgot to mention it until today.
Yep, just literally getting ready to watch Gotham like a few hours beforehand. Says, hey, you want to help me judge this Breaking Bad thing? They'll come in before midnight, and then we get a little faux pas with what we're doing when, but it all turned out.
It all worked out in the end. It all worked out.
Yeah.
Okay, so big congratulations to DSquared and RMichael. Really proud of you guys. Really can't wait to see what you come up with. The final project is due Friday, September 30th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. In which point the glorious jury of 7, will cast their votes for the winner. Now, I am also going to message each individual member of the jury and ask them if they have any questions for the finalists, questions to do with, with strategy, with approaches they took to the creative game this season, and all around just their gameplay that got into the final 2. If the jury doesn't have a question, then they can feel free to make a statement to the contestants and everything like that. Very much kind of in the vein of Survivor. So we will get that. We will get kind of like a final Imagineers Council, if you will, and crown our winner, because the 7 votes between the 2 members, only one can win. You need 4 out of 7 to win. So
there can only be one.
All right. So I guess at this point, you'd probably be rooting for DSquared.
Just based on literally one episode of knowing what these guys are bringing to the table. I mean, Twilight Zone, however, it's knowing that the last one's going to be, it's going to be directly for the Twilight Zone, right?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure. Well, knowing that, I mean, it's pretty much anyone's game because Twilight Zone, you got various concepts and various well to draw from Twilight Zone. It could be
That's the
anyone's.
exciting thing about the Twilight Zone for me, especially with making it into a final project. Because keep in mind, this whole season's kind of had a horror slash more adult themes attached to it. Breaking Bad kind of leans more less of the horror side, more just kind of the overall adult side of things.
Didn't have time for a
thriller kind of thing. But we've had a horror slant to it because this is our 13th season, Dragon. So I think the Twilight Zone is an incredibly appropriate IP to end out a 13th season on. Okay, folks. Well, like I said, congratulations to DSquared, congratulations to RMichael, and thanks to every one of the 18 players of So You Want to Be an Imagineer Season 13. Get a clue. It's been a really fun ride. And also check out T-Cool's A Twist in Time. I'm a part of that. Gonna have some really fun concepts there. Next, this project is redoing Mr. Toad's Wild Ride into something other than the Mini Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, which is an interesting idea. So, all right, Dragon. Thanks. Like I said, thanks again for joining us, and we will see you later, folks. Wait. Hold on, Dragon. Just let's do this one thing.
What?
I know you know exactly who I am, so do it. Say my name.
Heisenberg.
No, my name's not Heisenberg. Just say my name.
Well, I'd much rather say Heisenberg, but I'll say your name, Tiki.
You're goddamn right.